Hi, Ameann.
Hi, Haley.
Hey, so happy to have you on, and thank you so much for, first of all, being part of the Dandy Day Collaborative Partners, but also for joining me to talk a little bit about your company and just give everybody an intro to what you do, who you are. Sometimes it's really nice to have that the first view of hearing somebody's voice and just actually seeing a person instead of just reading on the internet what this company does. So, as I had mentioned before, one of the reasons that I asked you to be part of the collaborative partners was because I've known you and known about you in the industry for so many years, and um, a lot of people that I had worked with that I really trust in ingredients, but also brands, just rave about how wonderful you are, how knowledgeable and passionate, and those are just really, I think, to have all of those things put together is pretty rare. And that's why I thought you would be a great company to bring on and fill in the gaps for some of the brands and entrepreneurs that are part of the Dandy Day network as well. So thank you so much, and just congratulations for the kind of reputation and company that you built over these years. So,
Wow, thank you. And thank you to all those colleagues. It's so nice to be regarded that way. I do have a ton of passion for the industry. I always have. But more importantly, I really just love to share information. People can call me up at any point in time and ask me questions, and whether they're clients or not, I just answer them
yeah.
because I think it's so important to share information. And I think that's the foundation of our company, right? Is sharing all of this sort of insider secret information that seems so hard to
Mhm.
get to until you find someone who knows how to get to that information or knows the information themselves. And I think that's how the company was founded,
Yeah.
is being able to share all of that information about product development and my experience as an esthetician and wanting to create brands that consumers loved and
Mhm.
helping people who had passion to do that create those brands. And that's exactly how it started.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that was the first question that I didn't even ask, but how did your company come into existence? And so I think it's one of the things that you said that also makes it really interesting is that your background as an esthetician. So that gives, yeah, that little extra edge and yeah, and passion because it's just not about like making money or trying to check boxes. It's about making a different in a person's life. So that's really cool. And so, if you could elaborate a little bit on what problem does your company solve for a brand?
I think that's really interesting question because we didn't necessarily think about it as that when we started. It wasn't problem solution, which is so rare because everything should be problem solution, right? I mean, that's what everybody tells you. Um, but we just knew that we wanted to share our knowledge in the industry. And that knowledge is, 15, 20 years of experience working with consumers and working in product development. And so we do solve a problem because we have that knowledge that seems so secretive. There's so many great ideas out there, but people don't know, and potential brands and entrepreneurs don't know how to create a new brand. They don't even know where to start. They always think it's like, oh, I'm going to go make something in my kitchen and therefore I'm a brand. And that's like, no, that's a product. It's not a brand. But we try to take those ideas and turn those product ideas into a brand. And it's really hard to do because they don't necessarily know, these entrepreneurs, they don't know how to take it to that level and how to do that. And so we share our knowledge in the industry with packaging, with product development, with formulations, with all of the resources that we have to hold their hand along the way so that by the time they're done working with us at Ameann Beauty, they know what we know.
Yeah,
And I think that's really cool too, because a lot of people try to keep things secret. And I probably give too much information. They're like, whoa, wait, 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 that's too much for the first phone call.
that's how I felt. And I was like, maybe I should just stick to ingredients because I just tell everything. But no, it's great. It's great. You said that that's what you need. That's what people starting out, they really need that. They need that insider. information and those nuances. Just because you have a product doesn't make you a brand. And conceptualizing that are two very, very distinct things. So now you also do product development, but what are some more of your services?
So what we focus on is taking the idea and bringing that to life, whatever that idea is, whether it's a nutraceutical or if it's a skincare product or a cosmetic. And so along that product development life cycle, there's many sort of hurdles, as I would say. And there's one hurdle that always comes up that people always think that it isn't going to happen, and it's like, no, it's going to happen when you want to know your cost of goods and your margins.
Yeah.
And we always try to make sure that they do that earlier on in the process than later. But eventually you have to do it, whether you want to or not. And some people start with that, and that's great, but you really need to understand that process. So that's one thing. Regulatory and certifications is another obstacle, so to speak. We just had a call with one of our clients today about how they couldn't claim antiseptic. And I was like, well, there's no monograph ingredient. You can't be an antiseptic if you don't have a monograph ingredient. And they're like, well, I have an ingredient that says it's antiseptic. I'm like, that's not the same thing. And, it's just the frustration that comes along the way because it seems so simple, right? Like it's just a product and it should be easy to make, but then there are all these like things that you just don't know. And that's what we try to help with all of those things. So it's not just about creating a product, it's about everything that goes into it. And making sure that eventually that information is complete so that you can be brought into retail, or maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, you can own your formulas and grow into maybe a potential merger or acquisition. So setting you up in the beginning to be a big brand, not to sell lots of products.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Yeah, I was sharing with someone that I met in this Facebook group, and I was trying to explain to her about the industry and marketing. She asked about ingredients, and I was like, well, it's just not marketing. Like it has to do with the whole governance system, and each country has their own governance and the way that they do things, and it can be very, very complicated. So it's so important what you do, and that education process. And so what does a company need to have in place in order for them to start working with you? Say somebody comes to you and be like, hey, man, we heard about you. You're amazing. Hayley told us about you. And like, what do they need to have prepared in order to start working together?
I would say there's 3 things. And the first thing is the commitment, right? You can't be a weekend warrior, so to speak. You can't just like work a couple hours a week and expect your brand to take off. So that's, these entrepreneurs a lot of times will come to us with ideas, but they don't respond to emails, and we get back to them and it takes a long time. So you need that commitment, and that drive and that passion. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you have to have something that's new and innovative. You can't create another serum because we'll just say no. Like, it's just, you have to really have something that's innovative. And we've told many brands in the past, like, go back to your drawing board and come back to us, and we'll be a sounding board for you. So there has to be something new and different. And the third thing is that you need to have a little bit of money. You don't need to have a lot of money, but you need to have a little bit of money because it's going to cost money to build a brand. And depending on what you're doing, there's always less expensive ways to go about things. But you just need to have some money. You can't have just an idea. It won't work.
Yeah.
Because, if nothing else, you have to make product. Even if you don't work with me or anyone else and you can do everything yourself, you still have to have money to make product.
Is there a recommended amount of money that you recommend to people who come to you, like, hey, you're going to need X amount of dollars to get started, just get your idea off the ground? So like 10,000, 20,000?
So it depends on how many products that they want to make, and it also depends on what area of distribution. So if you're going to go into retail, you're going to need at least, 150 to $250,000, depending on where you go into retail, right? And you may not need that right that minute, but once you get your purchase orders, you're going to need to pull the trigger on all your inventory, and you're going to need money. Your vendors are going to require payments, and so you'll need that. If you're just going to be a direct-to-consumer brand, you can probably get away with building your own website, do some guerrilla marketing on Instagram, and maybe you can get away with, if you don't own your formulas, maybe like 25,000. You won't need it all at once, but over the course of the 6 to 9 months to a year that it takes you to develop your brand, you'll end up spending about that much money.
Yeah.
And I've had people who spend $1 million and not be successful, and I've had people spend 50,000 and be extremely successful. So it isn't about the money. It's more about what I said first, is you need to have that drive and passion, and you need to be working on it 24/7.
That's great.
Even if you're at work with your other job, you still need to be thinking about it.
Yeah. How can I do this? Yeah, what's next? Definitely. Okay. And so how long is your onboarding process? So they say like, hey, we're ready to do this. We're committed. We got a little bit of money. Like from the time that they start working with you, or the time they say yes to when y'all start working on a plan or conceptualizing, what does that time frame look like?
It takes about 2 weeks in order for us to get started to work with a brand, because we ask them to sort of do a data dump after we sign our non-disclosure agreements, just to see where they are. Some people have products that are finished and they don't understand the packaging and the branding and that aspect. And some people are clear at the beginning. Some people are more at the end, and they need a strategy, and they need a go-to strategy and a retail deck for our retail connections. So it just depends on what we're reviewing, but it does take about 2 weeks by the time the brand dumps everything, and then for our team to kind of look over it and get a plan of action and a strategy and a timeline together.
Okay, great. It's not too long.
No.
And what is the cost structure like for you so like retainer? Do you have like part ownership, or are you flexible, or is it something that's pretty like this is how you like to do business from a cost
We're
standpoint?
certainly very flexible because there's so many unique opportunities out there. But we don't believe in two things. We don't believe in taking a percentage of anyone's company, because unless I'm going to be a true partner through your entire life and I'm going to maybe sit next to you in office, I have no idea what you're going to do with this company. And we're busy too, so we don't take ownership, and we don't recommend, unless you have a true partner, that you do that. And sometimes a contract manufacturer can be a true partner, or a formulator can be a true partner, but a product development person isn't, in my opinion, isn't a true partner, because we're working with multiple brands, et cetera. So we don't do formula, or we don't do part ownerships in companies. But what we do is try to figure out a flexible way to work with brands. If they just need a couple things, we'll work on a project. We've done hourly. We typically do retainer, and that really benefits the brand probably more than it benefits me. And that's because no matter what you need, we'll do it. We have sort of a list of things that we provide, but sometimes people have said, hey, oh, by the way, can you help me with my P&L? Yes, I can. Could you help me with registration in another country? Yes, we can. Can you help me with the operations? Yes, we can. But there's no additional cost to that. As long as we can provide that service in-house and we have the talent to do it, it's part of the retainer agreement. And I feel like that's nice, because people are more willing to speak with me than they are their attorneys, because I'm not charging them by the hour.
Yeah. Yes. Great. And then what do you think are some realistic expectations for a brand or entrepreneur when they start working with your company? I feel like we've already covered some of that as far as like the commitment and having some money, having the flexibility. But are there any other expectations that you think might be missed at times, or that continually come up when you work with new clients?
I'm not so sure about expectations, but I can sort of tell you what brands have said to us that we may be different than other consultants. And number one is, we're certainly an advisor, but we're not the type of the advisor that says what you should do and expect you to do it. We're the type of advisor that tells you what needs to be done, and then we do it. We explain to you how we did it, and then you make the decision. And I think that's really unique. because a lot of consultants will tell you what to do. And it's like, well, if that was the case, then it would be easy if I could just read a book and know what to do. But it's our connections that make a difference, right? It's people like you, Hayley. Like if I need something, I can go to Hayley and say, hey, I've never encountered this. How do you make X, Y, and Z? Or how do you do this? I've never encountered that before. And it's our network. So I think that's what's different, is that we share all of that. We never, ever withhold information or contacts. If we're working with someone and they're not part of our internal organization, we let our brand know, hey, we think you should talk to this person, and let's get this conversation going. And if the brand doesn't have time to do it, we'll do it for them, but we'll be very transparent about it.
That's great. Yeah. That makes the world go round, transparency.
We try. We definitely try.
Well, and I know that's one of the reasons why you have such a great reputation too, is that it's about helping people and making sure that you're getting the job done for the good of the client. So, and then I have one last surprise question, is what are you grateful for?
Oh my gosh, that's a really cool question. For me, gratitude is hard. I also feel like um, gratitude is hard because when you think about, I heard people say, I'm blessed and, things fall upon me. I think I'm most grateful for my upbringing, that tried and true. I think we've talked about this, Hayley, right? I mean, you kind of grew up not in California, and I grew up in the Midwest, and it's very like, you do what you say what you do. And if you can't say anything nice, don't say it at all. And I think I'm probably most grateful for growing up in an environment where I learned to be true and honest and forthright and myself. And sometimes it's maybe a little not like LA, but I think I'm really grateful, and I think that's made me who I am, and hopefully has helped me in the industry.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm grateful, that we can have this time together and finding, like-minded people within our industry and in our little niche. And so I'm hoping that the Dandy Day community and the product creator community all becomes people, or is a compilation of people that have kind of the same values as us. Like, hey, let's do good work, and let's make it fun, and yeah, and great.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree with you. Yeah, we definitely have a great connection, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of your group. I feel included.
oh, yay, you're always included. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Very excited. So I again appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we look forward to helping a lot of people, making a lot of products, a lot of
Absolutely.
brands, making a lot of brands.
Yes, lots of
Okay.
brands. Thanks,
Okay.
Hayley. Take care. Bye.